The children who once ran away from her gate now rang the bell shouting, "Auntie Sala, we brought our report cards. Come and see who beat Junior in mathematics." Her once snow-white sofa was now a beautiful mess of crayon marks, juice stains, and one permanent ink drawing of a lion that Ariella swore was Mummy when she's angry. The house was never quiet again, and Salamati had stopped wanting it to be. Ariella, now tall and dramatic, was the estate's unofficial drama queen and lead singer in the church youth choir. She still spoke with her full chest, but now she used it to defend the smaller kids when bullies appeared. Zara, the former hairdresser with scissors, had turned her talent into art. Her bedroom walls were covered in murals, and every year she painted the estate gate something new. One year, a rainbow. Another year, a giant sunflower with the words, "Noise equals love," in bright yellow. Junior, still running everywhere, had channeled his speed into football. On Saturdays the whole estate gathered to watch him play, and when he scored, he sprinted straight to the sideline to kiss his mother on the cheek before celebrating. Baby Diddy, no longer a baby, had kept her voice. She could still hit a note that shattered glass, but now it was on purpose. She was the loudest, happiest praise leader the children's church had ever seen, and so she became the woman every new mother called at 2 a.m. when the crying wouldn't stop. She would arrive with a flask of pepper soup, sit on the floor, rock the baby like a pro, and say with a tired but warm smile, "Don't worry, my sister. The noise is just love, learning how to speak." On Sundays after church, her compound turned into a children from every corner of the estate came to play, eat jollof, and climb the mango tree that Harold had finally stopped trying to fence off. The neighbors who once wrote complaint letters now brought their own kids and stayed for the noise. One quiet evening, a rare one, Salamati and Harold sat on the veranda watching the sun set. The children were inside, arguing happily over whose turn it was to choose the cartoon. Harold slipped his hand into hers. "Remember when you said children should come with a remote control?" Salamati laughed, the full, deep laugh that only motherhood had taught her. "I was wrong," she said. "They come with something better. They come with a rewind button called forgiveness, a volume button called love, and a pause button called bedtime. That sometimes works." Harold kissed her temple. "You turned our house into a whole orchestra, Sala." She leaned into him, eyes shining. "And I finally learned the music." Inside, Diddy suddenly shouted, "Mummy, Junior is trying to teach the dog how to climb the fridge again." Salamati stood up slowly, stretched, and smiled the widest smile Freetown had ever seen. "Excuse me, conductor," she called toward the house. "Mama is coming." She walked inside, slippers flapping, ready to join the beautiful chaos she once ran from. Because some silences are sweet. The sound of Mummy, shouted in 4 different keys at the same time. The sound of love refusing to be quiet. That is the sweetest music on earth. And Salamati, former CEO of Peace and Quiet, had finally found her perfect playlist. "Happy birthday again, Salamati. May your year be as loud as messy, and as joyfully unstoppable as the love you never knew you were." The estate had grown older, the mango tree had grown taller, and Salamati's hair had started wearing silver highlights like expensive threads woven by time itself. Ariella was 21 now, studying law in England, but every holiday she came home wearing her mother's old wrapper, tied as a headscarf, shouting, "Mummy, I passed contracts." Before she even dropped her suitcase, Zara, 19, had opened a tiny art cafe downtown called Noise and Color. The walls were covered in her paintings, and every Saturday morning she taught the estate children how to paint with their hands, their feet, and sometimes with spoons dipped in jollof stew when the paint ran out. Junior, 17 and still running, had become the youngest coach the national junior football team had ever appointed. He still sprinted to his mother after every match, sweaty and grinning, to plant a kiss on her cheek and say, "That goal was for you, Mama." Diddy, 15 going on 30, had turned her voice into a weapon of joy. She led worship for the biggest youth conference in West Africa and could bring 5,000 teenagers to tears with one note, then make them laugh with the next. And Salamati, she had become the unofficial grandmother of the entire estate. Young mothers brought their newborns to her veranda just to watch her rock them to sleep with the same steady rhythm she once used on Ariella, Zara Jr. and Diddy. Old women came for tea and gossip. Teenagers came for advice when their own mothers didn't understand. Her once spotless white sofa had long been replaced by a bright patchwork couch made from all the children as old-school uniforms sewn together. It was ugly and perfect. One Sunday afternoon, the house was unusually quiet. Harold found Salamati sitting alone on the veranda steps, staring at an old photograph. The 4 children at ages 4, 2, 1, and newborn, covered in flour, smiling like tiny criminals who just got away with murder. Harold sat beside her. "Missing the noise?" he asked gently. She laughed, eyes wet. "Every day. The house feels too big when they're not here fighting over the remote." Harold squeezed her hand. That evening, 4 cars pulled up at the gate almost at once. Ariella stepped out first, suitcase in one hand, law textbook in the other. Zara followed with paint still under her nails. Junior jogged in wearing his national team jersey. Didi arrived last, carrying her guitar and shouting, "Mummy, guess who's home for good?" They didn't knock. They never did. They just poured into the house like a river returning to its banks. Ariella started cooking. Zara began painting the kitchen wall again. Junior challenged Harold to a wrestling match on the living room rug. Didi plugged in her guitar and started singing the old lullaby Salamati used to murder when they were babies. Within minutes, the house was loud, messy, alive. Salamati stood in the doorway watching them, arms folded, tears rolling silently down her cheeks. Harold came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. "Still hate noise," he whispered in her ear. She turned in his arms, pressed her forehead to his, and smiled the smile that only 25 years of beautiful chaos could carve. "I love the noise," she said. "I love it so much I'm scared of the day it stops." Harold kissed her softly. "Then let's make some more while we still can." 9 months later, on a quiet Tuesday morning, the kind of quiet Salamati once prayed for, she woke up smiling before she even opened her eyes. Harold was already in the kitchen, humming off-key, burning toast the way only he could. The children, now grown, were sprawled across the living room, home for the weekend, arguing over who got to hold the new baby first. Because yes, at 48, Salamati had done the impossible again. A tiny boy with his father's calm eyes and his mother's stubborn chin slept in a Moses basket on the dining table, surrounded by 4 grown warriors who were already fighting over who would be the favorite aunt or uncle. Salamati walked in, wrapper tied loosely, silver hair glowing in the morning light. Everyone went quiet for half a second, out of shock, out of respect, out of love. Then Didi whispered, "Mummy, another one." Salamati looked at the baby, then at her 4 big children, then at Harold, who was grinning like a little too proudly. She shrugged, picked up the newborn, and kissed his forehead. "God is not done with me yet," she said. Junior pumped his fist. Yes, another striker for the team. Zara was already sketching the baby's face. Ariella fake cried, "I'm too young to be an auntie 5 times." Didi started singing a welcome song so loud, the baby opened his eyes and smiled his very first smile. And she stood in the middle of the beautiful riot, heart so full it hurt, and finally understood the prayer she once screamed in exhaustion all those years ago. "Lord, I repent. I surrender. Just one is enough." God had looked down, smiled, and answered, "My daughter, one was never the plan. The plan was a symphony. And you, Salamati, were always meant to be the conductor." So she lifted her voice, once sworn to silence, and joined the noise. Because some women are born to love quiet, others are chosen to love the storm, and discover the storm was just love learning how to roar. And Salamati, she became the loudest, happiest, most exhausted, most grateful roar of all. Another 15 years rolled by like laughter carried on the Atlantic breeze. The mango tree in the compound had grown so wide that its shade now covered half the street. Children who were in even born when Salamati first declared war on noise now climbed its branches and carved their names beside the old ones. Ariella, 22, Zara Jr., 10 goals, Didi sings here. The estate had officially renamed the street Salamati Close, without asking her permission first, of course. She pretended to be annoyed, but Harold caught her polishing the new green sign with her wrapper when she thought no one was looking. Baby Micah, the surprise from 15 years ago, was now 20, tall like his father, gentle like his mother, and studying pediatric medicine because someone has to keep fixing the knees Junior keeps breaking on the football pitch. Ariella was a human rights barrister in The Hague, but every December she flew home wearing an Ankara suit and spent the holidays running free legal clinics under the mango tree. Zara's noise color cafes had spread to 6 cities. Every branch had a corner called Salamati's chair, an old rocking chair where mothers could sit and breastfeed or cry or laugh without being judged. Junior had captained Sierra Leone to their first ever African Cup quarterfinal. After the winning goal, he ran to the camera, pointed to the sky, and shouted into the microphone, "This one is for my mother, the loudest woman in the world." Didi's voice had taken her around the globe. She headlined stadiums, but her favorite place to sing was still the estate children's Christmas concert, where she let the smallest kids share her microphone and scream the chorus off-key. At 63, her silver hair was now a crown she wore proudly. Her rapper collection had multiplied into hundreds, each one a gift from a child she had helped, a mother she had comforted, a stranger who simply said, "Auntie Sala, this color looks like your spirit." The house had grown too. Walls knocked down, rooms added, a dormitory wing built for university students who couldn't afford rent. The kitchen never closed, the front door never locked. Every evening at 6 p.m., no matter where in the world her children were, they called in on a group video. 5 faces filled the screen, sometimes with spouses, sometimes with their own babies on their laps, all talking at once, laughing, arguing, singing. Salamati sat in the middle of it all on the patchwork sofa, eyes shining, not with tears now, but with light. One night, after the call ended and the house finally fell quiet, real quiet, the kind that only comes when everyone is safely under one roof, Harold found her on the veranda again. The moon was full and low, painting everything silver. He sat beside her, older now, slower, but still the same gentle smile. "Remember when you threatened to move to Antarctica?" he teased. Salamati laughed until she had to hold her belly. "I would have frozen in 2 minutes," she said. "These children are my heater." Harold took her hand. "You turned into everything you swore you would never be." She looked at him, eyes soft. "No, Haruna, I turned into everything I was afraid I could never be, and more." She stood up slowly, walked to the gate, and looked down the street that now carried her name. Children were still playing football under the streetlight. A young mother rocked a crying baby on a bench. 2 teenagers argued over who ate the last chin-chin. Salamati smiled, cupped her hands around her mouth, and did the unthinkable. She shouted loud, unapologetic, joyful, "Hey, all of Una, come house, food, don ready." 30 small heads turned at once. Auntie Sala, feet thundered toward her like happy thunder. She opened her arms wide and let the storm run straight into them. Harold watched from the veranda, eyes wet, heart full, and somewhere up there, the angel who had once laughed at her desperate prayer all those years ago leaned back, folded his wings, and whispered, "Mission accomplished," because the woman who once arrested noise with her glare had become the woman who gathered it, named it, fed it, Jollof, and taught an entire nation how to dance inside the sound of love and the noise. It never stopped. It only got louder, sweeter, and more eternal with every new heartbeat that called her mommy, auntie, or simply home. So if you ever pass through Freetown and hear laughter spilling over a wall, children singing off-key, a silver-haired woman scolding and hugging someone at the same time, know that you have reached Salamati Close, and if the gate is open, it always is. Walk in. There will be a plate for you, a song for you, and a story loud enough to shake the stars, because some silences are meant to be broken by the most beautiful noise of all.